Okay, thank you. Well, hello, everybody. And Sharon, thank you very much for the opportunity to join this panel this evening. The last time I spoke in front of an OSU panel, Go Buckeyes, was right before the pandemic, actually, in February of 2020. I went to a fantastic UAS Advanced Air Mobility event at OSU. And I just have to say hats off to the Buckeyes. You really are pioneering the space. You are one of the top organizations that I think of when I think of all the progress that's being made in this space. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Richard, for setting this up a little bit with your last comments about community integration being almost as important as the integration with national airspace. So really just as important. And that's what we're finding out as Airspace Link. So for those of you who don't know who we are, Airspace Link is a provider of digital infrastructure. So everything that Richard just went through in terms of setting up a lot of the physical infrastructure for surveillance, systems, we are the digital infrastructure that sit between the UAS operators, the federal authorities, and the local and state government authorities. And I'll explain as we go along how we do that. But it first started out with our partnership, our relationship with the FAA. So we are one of 7 approved providers of LAANC, which you see the logo at the bottom of the screen. That's low altitude authorization notification capability. And so we are tied in with 729 airports across the country where it is required if you are recreational or flying Part 107, you must have an authorization from the FAA to fly in that airspace, in that controlled airspace. And we can provide that now in seconds through our application. We differentiate ourselves when we talk about integration now down to the local communities. So what we are doing is working with local communities to pull in their geospatial information about ground risk, hazards, where are hospitals, helipads, prisons, stadiums, government buildings, areas that may be concerning for flight operations. So we're surfacing that information directly from the local authorities to provide more contextual insight about risk on the ground when these operations are taking place. And I'm going to talk about how we do that in a minute, but you can see here, we have a logo here, Esri. We are an Esri partner. Esri is a leading provider of geospatial information systems for many government agencies. So it really makes it easy to plug our system into those platforms and then surface the hazard information to the operator. So you can start to think of us as providing routing information, almost like a Waze or a Google for drones. So I'm going to run this quick video. This will give you some more context about the use cases that we're supporting. And it does take a partner ecosystem really to pull this together. And you'll see that we worked with several operators to conduct this multimodal transport of a 3D kidney to show that it's more efficient and effective to move these autonomously. Let me play the video.
At Airspacelink, our core mission is to enable the safe integration of drones into the national airspace and into communities like yours. To help local and state governments scale.
Oops, did the video just stop?
Complex drone operations. Airspacelink partners with communities and other companies interested in UAS to test BVLOS operations in the FAA Beyond program, introduce drone package deliveries in new drone-friendly housing developments, and speed up COVID-19 testing with test kit deliveries via drone between hospitals and testing centers.
We're out ahead in this space and working with local and state governments, anticipating that they are going to be needing tools to plan for this, tools to help bridge the private interest in coming into these cities and counties and states to set up these operations so they can jointly with the private industry now plan the safest routes and then publish those routes for these new advanced drone operations.
In a more recent partnership, Airspacelink went to Ohio to join a cohort of innovation and industry leaders to introduce a first-of-its-kind and first-in-the-nation demonstration of testing a proof-of-concept operation for critical medical delivery. In this demonstration, the team used Ohio's Smart 33 corridor that stretches 35 miles to transport 3D printed organs and to test advanced transportation options with autonomous vehicles. Organ movement is a very challenging use case, so the team worked together to link cohesive technologies together to demonstrate autonomous and semi-autonomous air and ground capabilities. This multimodal approach to moving time-sensitive cargo is important for both the speed and the scalability of autonomous vehicles across longer distances. This demonstration is all about showcasing how Airspacelink can work with the local communities and current infrastructure to implement innovative solutions and resources for important life-saving medical deliveries, like the transport of viable organ donations. Recent studies about community adoption of small drones have already demonstrated real societal and economic benefits in the form of time saved for consumers and businesses, increased sales for participating businesses, helping tens of thousands of mobility-challenged individuals obtain critical prescriptions, and reduce CO2 emissions and traffic congestion by removing cars and trucks off the road. To better understand how Airspacelink is enabling safe integration of drones into communities across the country, and to set up an evaluation in your community today, visit airspacelink.com or email us at hello@airspacelink.com. We look forward to integrating drones into your community.
So hopefully that came across okay. I'm going to stop playing it right now and go to the next slide. There we go. Oops. I went too far ahead. Okay. So everything that Rich said, I'm echoing here in the presentation. So we think of this infrastructure as the next big investment that could potentially happen across the US and actually put the US in a very good spot. So when we think of all these new dollars coming down for infrastructure spending, we think that if we can move a lot of that ground transportation infrastructure now into the air and actually make use of the air in a good way where we're promoting sustainable transport, that's what's going to be this new inflection point that we're on the cusp of. So we go back and we equate this to Vanderbilt building the roads, Edison building the electric grid, Eisenhower investing in the highway system. So we at Airspacelink are working with government agencies at every level to actually enable the safe and scalable growth of this industry. And we're starting with the smaller UAS package delivery because of what we do and who we are, but we see this as laying the foundation for the advanced air mobility. And there are a lot of concepts that Rich talked about in his last presentation that we're working on too, such as UAS traffic management and beyond visual line of sight operations. So for example, in the state of North Dakota, we're building out a statewide infrastructure in partnership with one of the leading air traffic management companies in the world to put in this right infrastructure that can then, once it's blessed by the FAA for the initial operations to go beyond visual line of sight, that infrastructure could also be ported out elsewhere. So really super excited. It was a $28 million appropriation that they made at the state level, and they just added another $20 million to that initial appropriation. So just like Ohio has done, improving the economic benefits, the benefits to people, the benefits to mobility challenged, the benefits to CO2 emissions, getting cars off the road, that's where the investment is going to pay off. And that's where we see the opportunities for things like drone package delivery here. And you can see the Virginia Tech study cited all these great metrics. And this was based on an operation that Alphabet Wing was conducting in Christiansburg, Virginia, which is Southern Virginia, near Virginia Tech. But they were able to use the metrics that they obtained and looked at cities with the average population size of 500K and above, and they were able to come up with these metrics. So that's what we're striving for. The challenges, of course, on the right-hand side are public acceptance, just like Rich said, getting out to the communities and ensuring that they're participating in all of this. So a lot of this has been, the policy making is being done at the federal level because it's the FAA. The FAA is the authority of the airspace. But then when you're talking about setting up very localized operations such as package delivery and looking at where these operations should pick up and land, it does involve making sure that the community is accepting of it. And the good news is in the area of Christiansburg, Virginia, after conducting these operations, there's at least an 85% plus acceptance rate. So they really became very happy with the overall drone package delivery services that they were getting. But we do need to work to expand this to other cities and states throughout the country. So what we see as our challenge here is we have addressed this part, flying a drone legally and safely, and we do this as Airspacelink. Like I said, we can pull back authorizations to fly in controlled airspace if you're Part 107 pilot or a recreational pilot, and we even can do further coordination if you have to fly higher flight heights than are allowed. There's a way to go into our system and put the rationalization in for how to get that authorization. It's when we go beyond visual line of sight that we're all working together to enable this. And it's going to be a combination of the aircraft actually being certified, the operator themselves showing that they have the capabilities to meet the requirements of the FAA in terms of how they operate in general, their maintenance or performance. So all of this is being written as we speak. So we're part of the pioneers here in terms of influencing how this is all going to play out ultimately in the industry. And then flying advanced drone operations at scale, meaning multiple drones flying at one time beyond visual line of sight. What really we see needed right now is this infrastructure that should be looked at as shared use, just like when roads are used by multiple trucking companies, commercial operators carrying cargo. We think the same for shared use infrastructure for drones. And we've come a long way as an industry. You can see just over the past 10 years is when the FAA Modernization Act actually directed the White House and NASA to start to come up with a plan around UTM. And the Part 107 rulemaking, which took place in 2016. And right on the tail of that came LAANC, which is the solution that we provide. So as a company, we were founded in 2018, and we started with this LAANC program. And we've continued to expand our capabilities to meet the rules, such as remote ID is now coming very soon. So all drones by the third quarter of next year are going to have to be able to transmit remote ID. The legacy drones that are out there already are going to have to be configured, and they have a longer time period to transmit remote ID. But that remote ID rulemaking allowed for flights over people as well. So we are starting to see the industry open up. Flights over people still require visual line of sight. And in the end, when you start to look at what our platform's capable of, we're exposing areas of high population on the ground. So operators who do want to fly over people can look at the routes that minimize the number of people that they're flying over. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. And then as we get to beyond visual line of sight, like I said, that's kind of where we are right now, beyond visual line of sight. Focusing heavily on small UAS and cargo package delivery, and then laying the foundation, which is what NASA's doing, what Richard had talked about. NASA's out there starting to lay the foundation for advanced air mobility. And this is what a UTM is. Basically, UAS Traffic Management is designed to provide solutions for deconfliction when we're under 400 feet, because there really is no solution right now. Like I said, no infrastructure that's able to identify small UAS under 400 feet. And that's what the industry is working on collaboratively to solve how that's going to work. And definitely what Richard talked about is a piece of that equation. So when we look at AirHub and what we are working on to advance the safe and scalable ability for commercial drone operations, as well as public safety drone operations, we kind of are here in the green areas. We have our AirHub for Government solution, our AirHub for APIs, which provide data services to the UAS operator industry. And then we have our AirHub for Pilot solution, which is our LAANC application. But the way we see this is a two-sided model. So you can see here on the left side, we have our build and manage capabilities. This is what we're doing with the FAA, of course, in terms of ensuring all operators comply with the FAA rules and regulations. But at the state level, for example, North Dakota, like I had just talked about, we are together with some partners, one being a very sophisticated air traffic control company, putting together the infrastructure that's needed to open up beyond visual line of sight across the state. So we are about to get our first FAA approvals on that system to support operations that are first actually being used for public safety for the North Dakota DOT, but then eventually should expand out to commercial operations. And then we also see that it takes city participation. We're working also, we are a Detroit-based company, so we work closely with the Detroit Region Aerotropolis, and they serve 10 different communities and 2 airports, and they're all using our system to publish advisories out to the operators to advise of any ground risk or local airspace risk. And what's happened there, that program has expanded to the state level. And so at the state level, the state is going to be investing in the initial studies, similar to what Richard just talked about, to look at how do we bring in UAS connected corridors on top of ground-based connected corridors. And then at the city level, we have a very basic program that we call Fly Safe. It really is kind of getting the city's feet wet in all of this, so they somehow have a way to participate in at least the safe operations that are happening right in their communities. On the right-hand side, we offer APIs. So we are building out our system to comply with the FAA UTM ConOps. There actually is a ConOps. You can go take a look at it. Anybody, it's public information. And so we're building that as the market is ready for it. So there's a lot of areas that we're focused on that really tend to be providing tools for the planning purposes. So what areas of risk are out there? How do we get our airspace layers so we understand altitude? How can we navigate safely through a community? Can you compute the route for me? Those are the types of solutions that we're providing right now. So it looks like this. So we have a lot of data coming in. We have 50 disparate feeds of data, coming into the platform: aviation data, local authority data, dynamic population density data, airspace advisories, all coming into our platform. And then we're putting models on top and then allowing that information to be published out to the drone industry. So either our AirHub for Government sorry, I can't speak tonight. Our AirHub for Government clients are using the data for their own purposes. So now they have insights here about what the ground looks like and what the airspace characteristics look like. And then they can visually see through a visualization display where they may need to put advisories, or where they just may need to provide some information about a helipad being somewhere, or a school or a hospital. That's all presented through our AirHub for Government system. We're also giving data back to our government agency clients so they can see from our AirHub for Pilots application where flights are happening. This is all aggregated and anonymized, but for the first time, a lot of these local governments are seeing this kind of activity that they've never seen before. And then our AirHub for pilots, anybody can go and sign up for that. You can use it for flight planning. You can use it for LAANC authorizations. You can use it to understand where local advisories are. And then the more sophisticated model you see right here, that's really our advanced analytics. That's when we're working with like a big logistics company or a new drone delivery startup company who wants to set up the ability to deliver medical supplies somewhere. And they might have 20 different pickup drop-off locations that they're looking at, and they want to understand, well, where's the safest route for me to fly, given that I have to go from all these different points. As I said, we have a very simple program, Fly Safe program. That's how we're getting the communities to start to embrace this and to engage. And you can see there's the interactive map. We put it right on their site, and then anyone can click through to the site and then get an authorization to fly. So this is our white label program in a way for communities. It's really our AirHub system behind the scenes, but we're giving the communities now a way to participate. And I talked about what we're doing with Detroit Aerotropolis. It's really gotten big from them starting to use the system for their own planning purposes. They're starting to lay the foundation for advanced air mobility. And then we're looking at this connected corridor where we will look at a ground-based autonomous vehicle connected corridor, but also see how we can overlay UAS operations. And then I talked about this project too with North Dakota, and I think I'm at the end. Well, we're working with, I think now it's over 50. This is a little bit outdated. 50 state and local agencies. We have thousands of pilots on board using our system, and we're now in 24 states. So with that.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. That was very detailed and I think very informative for our audience. And